Well, hello, Sandra Yancey.
Welcome to the Brave Entrepreneur Podcast. I am your host, Jena Rodriguez. Entrepreneurs are leading the way and creating a whole new level of possibility. Each week, listen in to hear how brilliant entrepreneurs share their brave secrets. Entrepreneurship is not the easy way. It is the brave way. Now let's get our brave on.
Sandra Yancey, how are you?
I'm good, Jena Rodriguez. How are you?
We both have our candles. My candle's on the other side of the computer. We got candles burning. We got
Yes, yes.
And you're in Dallas. I would like to confirm that.
That is true. I'm in Dallas. Yes.
I'm originally from Texas, and I was in Houston, but then recently in the last year moved to Los Angeles, California. So
how are you loving it?
I'm loving it. I really do. I love the ocean. I love the weather. It is gorgeous out here, and I really just wanted to live close to the ocean, and I got that. So
I love that LA. It's like a second home for me.
Is it?
Yeah, it's a 3-hour quick trip, and
that's true.
So easy.
Yeah, and it is. I love how much access there is out here, and the people have been amazing. And my daughter's in, volleyball. I'm playing beach volleyball. Who would have thunk?
How about that?
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool
stuff. So one Texas girl to another. Why don't you take a minute and just introduce yourself to the world?
Okay, well, I'm Sandra Yancey, and today what I do for a living is I'm a CEO of eWomenNetwork. We are a global community of women entrepreneurs that, are have adopted a philosophy if there's enough for everyone and we lift as we climb. I'm a small town girl. I've been with my husband since I was 17 years old in high school. 40 some years ago. I have a 30-year-old daughter. I have a 3-month-old granddaughter, my very first, and totally everything that I'm about now. And I have a son, a 25-year-old son who's amazing, and a little 2-year-old Westie that comes to the office on the 5th floor. He knows when the door opens, he knows to get on the elevator. He knows when he gets off the elevator, he turns left. I mean, it's just incredible. And everybody here in the building knows him.
That's awesome. Yeah, my little Chihuahua, he's terrified of elevators.
Dash, no fear. He's totally brave with an elevator. Just don't bring out the vacuum cleaner.
Nice.
He has a total meltdown.
That's hilarious. But I love that. I love that you, number one, your daughter is now working in the business.
Yes.
And I've been an eWomen member for 12 years. So I grew up with you.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
It's crazy. So,
it is. But keep saying we're not getting any older, Jena.
I know. My wrinkles are disappearing.
Exactly.
My gray is going away. It's all good.
Yes. Yes.
But, I'm just really glad to have this conversation with you because you bring such an easy and yet powerful perception to women and people at large. And I know that you have been very brave in your life, and that's what this conversation is about. And so this is the 20-year anniversary, right, for eWomen?
20 years on September the 18th, we turned 20.
September 18th. It's like,
can't even believe it.
Marriage.
Yeah, I know. No kidding. My husband works for me. So when people say, how long have you been together? I kind of want to say 80 some years. I feel like I should get double credit since I work with them too. Don't I get to double time?
I think you should. I'm with you on that. And there was a time I worked with my husband too. And now, of course, we both work at home, right?
Yes.
Different businesses, but I get it. Yes.
Yeah.
I think we double up.
Yeah.
And yet, I know that you've put a lot of work into that business and to get it to where it is now. But
yes.
What was it like beforehand? And give us a little bit of the backstory, just because there's a lot of new people here.
So, in I moved from a very small town, farm town, Midwestern farm town to Dallas in 1996. I had a really big portfolio of great clients, from Coca-Cola to Levi Strauss to John Deere to AT&T, NCR, really great clients that I had gotten from by working for a Fortune 500 company. They had done a massive layoff. I had already left and gone out on my own, but all of those people then landed all these big corporate jobs, and they remembered me. I ran a department that was an internal consulting firm, so we had to charge back for our time.
Mm.
And so they remembered me, and I developed this great portfolio of clients. The problem, Jena, is that I really kind of jumped from the frying pan into the fire, because I really had just recreated my corporate job, and I was traveling all over. The problem is I didn't have a secretary. I was booking my own flights. When the copier jammed, I had to fix it. I'm running up to, at the time, Kinko's, if you remember, making all my materials, running to the post office, shipping them, and it was hard. It was hard, and it wasn't what I thought it was going to be. We subsequently moved to Dallas, and I thought, oh, this is going to be really great, because now I live in, a city where there's, world headquarters for Frito-Lay and J.C. Penney's and Texas Instrument, and Ross Perot had his big EDS. I'll be home every night for dinner with my kids. And then I started networking. I didn't know anyone here, and I found it to be really hard, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I found like a lot of the men's groups, everybody, Southern hospitality, everybody really kind, but I just didn't feel like I was invited to play in the game. I felt like I was on the sidelines, maybe the cheerleader kind of thing. And then for women's groups, I was like, it just felt very hobbyish for me. I thought, if I'm going to be away from my kids and my husband and my family, I want to make it worth my while. And if I'm going to make 100,000, why not make 1 million? And where are those women? Because everybody keeps telling me the conversation is different. So what is that?
Right.
And I just couldn't find it. And then I decided to start it. So unlike most entrepreneurs that start a business because of something they're really good at and that they love, I started a business as something that I didn't know.
But it was missing.
Yeah. And I was uncomfortable with. I'm to this day not really comfortable in crowds of strangers. I'm much better like this, one-on-one.
Yeah, that's surprising to me. That's how I see you all the time, is in a room full of people.
Right.
But I'm with you. I'm an introvert at heart, and this is way more comfortable.
Yeah, I always get the window seat on the plane so that I can take a little nap and recharge. I don't make a lot of conversation. I married a music man. I married an extrovert, you know what I mean? And he carried that energy for us, which I loved and still do. It's nice to come home and not have to be on.
Yeah, interesting. That's something else we have in common. Were you you're born in Ohio?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I lived in Ohio for a while. My husband's a musician.
Oh my God, are you kidding?
Nope.
We just keep unraveling all kinds of little things that link us together.
We got all kinds of stuff. And I haven't fully heard that story, which is very exciting for me, because as long as I have known you, and that's a different perspective.
Right.
And you said something really interesting about, the conversation around a million, making 1 million versus 100,000 or 6 figures, and how it is different. What are you finding now? Obviously you are in the millionaire category.
Mm-hmm.
What is the difference? What are you seeing? And why are so many people not making it there?
I think it's intention. Part of it, purposeful intention. I do believe Stephen Covey, I think, coined it. He said, begin with the end in mind. So, it's one thing to say, I want to make $1 million. It's another thing to say, I want to make $1 million by December 31st of 2021. And now I need to reverse engineer and put plans in place that are measurable to make it so.
Yeah.
Right. I think it's also about focusing on the things that matter. Having 3 main priorities a day and just being really committed to not going to bed until those 3 things are done. I think then all of a sudden you start managing your boundaries, and you don't have to worry about managing your time anymore, because time is a rat race. And even if you win, you're still a rat. Boundaries is very different. That now you're starting to say, here's what I value, here's what's important to me, here's what fulfills me. And no is a complete sentence. I'm not going to get sucked up into the other things. But being committed to the 3 things every single day that moves your life and business forward. And when you are committed to those things, like you really aren't going to go to bed if it's 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, and I've had a few of those nights for sure. It helps you regroup pretty quickly because you realize you don't want to do that very often. And suddenly you just don't do or get caught up in the busyness of the business or the administrivia of the business.
Yeah.
Right.
Love
And
that.
so, yeah. And accountability. I mean, I have like 4 coaches. I belong to a mastermind group. And so I'm constantly working on me.
Yeah.
I'm my biggest competition. And so it's not about what everybody else is doing. And the scenery only changes for the lead dog. So I would rather be, keeping an eye on the horizon and smelling the fresh air than trying to keep up with someone else and sniffing butt.
I was wondering if you were going to say it or not.
Yeah. Let people, let people keep their eye on me. I'm going to keep my eye on the customer and where they're going, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that takes courage to do, because it's so easy to watch what other people are doing and caught up and say, they just did that and that, let me go do that. And that's where we get, I think, really off track and not staying in our lane, doing what we do best.
I so appreciate that. And of course, this is a conversation about brave. And I think the leadership that you exemplify is, a big part of what is missing in individuals that are, they say they want it, but are they really willing to do the self-leadership that's required? And
I love that word, self-leadership. It is, because we don't have bosses that are holding us accountable like they did in corporate America. So really easy to blow off and say, hey, Jena, I'm having a bad day. Do you want to leave early and go have a Bloody Mary? And, and if Jena isn't you, Jena, and it's a different Jena, they might say, yeah, let's go do this, versus you say to me, wait a minute here. You know what I mean? Let's find out what's going on, fix it, and get going, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Be careful who you're hanging out with. I mean, you can't build a dream, I think, $1 million dream, hanging around minimum wage mindsets,
Yeah, I love that. And, it's something I always say is, I speak to the fact that I think we have to raise our, our frequency and therefore change the channel that we're living on.
Yeah.
And one of those being elevating our conversations. And that might mean having a coach or having a mentor, someone that's going to call you out and go, how do we fix it? How do we shift?
Right. 100%. And not a but, and the conversation that goes on in your head, all the stuff that, gets in your way of really moving forward, like personalizing, a setback, I think one of the things that really distinguishes the super successful from the people that constantly struggle is that they just don't over personalize something. You know what I mean? They see it for what it is. They look at it as a window of opportunity by which to learn a lesson. They trust that this is happening because this is a lesson you're supposed to learn, and you're probably going to see it again, only the stakes are going to be much higher. And so why not learn it now, so that you have the benefit of saying, I've smelled that before. You know what I mean? And that wisdom that you have, I think, is, and also that failure isn't permanent. It's this moment with this instant and this occasion under these set of circumstances. And again, stepping back and, assessing, I think, is a big one too.
Yeah, I love that. And I want to go back to the point you said about personalizing, because I just am a little curious how much of our world, that's going on. We're in the middle of a pandemic. We're in the middle of a lot of shutdown. And yet that's what I'm correlating, is there's a lot of personalization going on. So what is your perspective about that? And are you seeing something similar or something different?
Well, I mean, in fairness, when it first happened, I was like, holy crap, what is happening? You know what I mean? And when are we getting over this? Like I want to be patient, like a week.
I got things to do.
And so there is a little bit of, the shock of it all. But I think that those that, really, get with the program will start to see that, Jena, most billionaires are made when there's a major economic shakeup. You know what I'm saying? And the reason why is because most people retreat, most people pull back.
Yeah.
And what's happened is when you've pulled back, then everybody went online. And so the online world became bigger than it's ever been, and talk about a sea of sameness, right?
Yes.
So, needing to say, okay, so what is it that I have to do in order to differentiate myself, and leaning into doing things that most people don't do. And that takes bravery and it takes courage. I think people are often wait for confidence. And what I can only speak for myself to say that I have found that confidence is a consequence of courage. That first you master being courageous, being brave, and jumping to get ready instead of getting ready to jump. Now that doesn't mean that you're reckless. I mean, I do believe in taking calculated risks, but I don't think you should over calculate so that you're here and hitting all the decimals and it taken like for frickin' ever before you do something. You know what I'm saying? Because I do think there's a window of time, and I think this is it. I mean, I do believe that the course of the next 9 months are going to make the next wave of millionaires. I really do believe that. The ones that are leaning in and going for it, while others are like, kind of wondering what's happening.
Yeah.
And the problem is if you feel like you need to wait to find somebody that has a track record, no one has it. The best we've got is the last 7, 8, 9, however many months it's been. Right. So find somebody that's done something pretty remarkable and then, align. This has never been a more important time to have aligned, deeper relationships so that you are needing to be a little bit more agile. You've got to make faster decisions and move pretty quickly. And then once you've made the decision, then you go, you go. It's kind of like if you've ever, I used to be a competitive diver, off the high dive. And, once you hit that final bounce on that board, you got to be committed.
Yeah. Hesitation, please.
You can't go up there and out there over the water and have second thoughts. Yeah. You got to go for it.
Agree. It's like, I have this experience. I jumped out of an airplane in 1998, right? And I can literally relive the experience. It's been 20 plus years. I'm like, I can relive it. And I was sitting on the edge of the plane, and I have a tandem guy, right?
Right.
And he's like, go. And I'm like, are you crazy? I gotta hold on to the edge of the airplane, and he's like, cross your arms. And I kept doing the dance.
Yeah.
I'm gonna hold on with one hand. But I think and then I finally obviously talked myself into crossing my arms and going. But I think that's the point, is that commitment.
And the power of having a coach, somebody that knew you were going to be okay, that was encouraging you to let go, that was by your side on the way down. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
100%. And I say that, I'm like, he's my parachute, having someone there. And then I can even relate it because it was a godly experience for sure. And I was like, I believe that a lot of faith and I subscribe to Gus, God, Universe, Source. So Gus is with me. He's my tandem.
Yes.
But I have to cross my arms and take the action too. Yeah. So I think people need to hear that. I feel like you're right. I feel like there is this hesitation. They're jumping off the diving board and then, not fully committed, and then, falling flat.
Yeah.
And so the other thing that came to me as you were sharing that is, I feel like you've gotten really good at discernment versus judgment, or, you said the word alignment, which is one of my favorite words, but it's like, how do you relate to that? How do you live that in your life? How do you discern and align and know that you're making the right decision?
I think two things come to mind. First is, one is, I live by some core values. The company has core values. I personally have core values. I have my personal life mission statement on my board that I look at. It is signed. I look at it every day.
Love it.
And I just make sure it speaks to alignment. But discernment is important, because when you know what's important to you and you are in alignment with this, then you are able to discern yes or no. Yeah. It's not about right or wrong, although there are, I think, not all people are the right people. Doesn't mean that they're the wrong people. They're just not the right people. Does that make sense?
To me,
and not all money is good money for you, for me, yes. You know what I mean? There's things I want to do to make money, and there's other ways I could make money just for the sake of making money, but my heart isn't into it. And
Yeah.
so when you know what you stand, if you don't know what you stand for, I think you can fall for anything.
Yeah.
When you know what you stand for, then you have something to test it against.
Right.
And the first for me is values. And then the second is, are you clear, what your true purpose is and why you're doing what you're doing. And once you know that, that's what keeps you going on the days you don't want to. And we all have days we don't want to.
Yeah.
And aligned with that, to me, there's that aligned word is, do you have the right sounding board? Do you have the right people? And I'm lucky because I have staff, and that's not always lucky. Let me just say, I mean, it comes with its own set of challenges, but it could be your accountability group. You don't have to have staff to have that. But I do think you need to have people that you respect and that you trust. And then there's still going to be times, Jena, when they're not going to agree with something that you're going to get really quiet in and know, like your heart has a language your mind doesn't understand.
Yes.
And so sometimes you'll get quiet and you'll make a decision. I often think about the conductor, has to turn, her back to the audience in order to lead the orchestra. You know what I mean? Sometimes you've got to stand alone. And I've done that with my retreat on retreats. I've had people for years say, would you teach how you do these really high-end luxury 5-diamond retreats? And I had my phone and I'd always pull up my notes and I'd say, what would you want to learn? And and then December of 2018, we were just finalizing what our goals were for the year. And I said, I know this is late. It's a wild hair, but it keeps popping up. I really want to do this retreat on retreats. I want to do a retreat on how to do, but if I'm going to do it, I want to do it. I want to show them and have them experience it while I teach it. And so Kim was like, that's great. Are we going back to Mexico? Or are we going to go, all of that kind of thing. I said, no, I want to go to Bangkok and Thailand. And, the response was, Sandra, you can't get through a Chinese meal with chopsticks, which is true. I start out and then I give up halfway. You know what I mean? They always ask you, do you want chopsticks? And I always want to say, well, yes, of course I want chopsticks. And then halfway through, I want to ask for my fork. But anyway, it just takes too long, And so, especially if you're sharing a meal with my family, you snooze, you lose. Exactly. So, anyway, everybody was like, this isn't going to go, and I don't think this is good, and is it going to be worth our time, and this and that and the other. And I really had to go away and sleep on it, journal, meditate, pray. I do all of those things and just really listen to my heart. And I came back and I said, I really want to do this. And I'm going to offer it next month at an event I was at, and we'll see what the taking is. I mean, if nobody wants to do it, I can always cancel it. I'm not going to book and put money down on the location. I'll call them and see if they've got availability and have them save the space and then see what kind of the uptick is. And I'm telling you, Jena, I thought maybe my goal was like 12 max, and 19 people on a waiting list later. It sold out in 20 minutes.
Wow.
So sometimes, Ken Cragen always taught me that it's kind of almost easier to do the impossible than it is to do the possible, because everybody's doing what's possible. It's crowded.
I love that. It is crowded. And, and I find myself, this year's been, quite challenging. I mean, to be honest, like it's like when we got the word, I had a 11,000 people conference in LA that I was speaking at the day after the shutdown, and I of course went into panic.
Yeah, right.
And then we have the conference every year, which I'm excited about going to next year, but it that shifted, and
yes,
you had to make some really hard decisions, and a lot of people are involved in them.
Right.
And how do you stay the course? I mean, you've said a lot of examples like values and people and mentors and things like that, but just on an internal wake up in the morning and kind of face the challenges that might be there, because we've had a few. How do you kind of flip the switch? What are some of the strategies?
So I actually have this on my Instagram. It's on my it's called It's Showtime. It's actually on our stories, and Brianna and I did this when we did the tour together. And no matter what was going on at some particular time, when I'm getting ready to walk out the door at the office for the office, I say to myself, it's showtime. I mean, it is for me, I work in an office. And I have to do that. Some people are really good at working from home. I applaud those people, but I also have to know my strengths and weaknesses. And when I'm at home, I have no boundaries. It's really hard for me to compartmentalize. And I paid attention when I heard, can't believe Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett. He was interviewed one time years and years ago, and was asked, what is it that you look for in people that you want to work for you? And I'm telling you, Jenna, without skipping a beat, he said their ability to focus. And I thought, wow, and I realized as I started looking at myself back then, I realized that when I was home, I would be like, I think I could throw in a load of laundry real quick, yes. Or I think I could, I know, I'll take a lunch hour and I'll run to the store real quick. I've been craving that lasagna. And certainly I've just got a few minutes. I can kind of put it all together and get it in the oven, then I'll go back. And there was these stops and starts, or if I was folding laundry and something, God forbid I have a footy that's missing its other footy, and then I would be on 15 minutes later, I'd be looking for the other footy that had the purple rim so that it was a perfect match. I mean, just the little things that would just, and I realized that I was wearing multitasking like it was a badge of honor, like I could multitask. Until I started really researching and finding out that psychologically, there really is no such thing as multitasking. You really are just turning on and off your brain and switching it onto different things just really fast. And so that's when I decided to get an office, and it was like a big girl moment because now I had rent to pay. And that also will get your attention real quick, number one. But number two, what it did for me is it really compartmentalized me. I mean, when I am here, I am here. And I think I do, on average, 3 times what most people do when they are otherwise distracted, And even on a Saturday when I could work from home, if I've got a really big deadline, I might say to Kim, I'm going to go, and I'm thinking this is going to be a full day's worth of work. I might say to Kim, I think I'm going to run down to the office and find that I'm done in 3 hours. There's just something psychologically very powerful for me that says, this is showtime. And I walk out and it's like, and that's a wrap.
Bloody Mary, where are you?
Exactly. Not that I don't sometimes peek at home or do some things, but it's clearly not an extension of how I define how I spend my days.
Yeah. I love that. And I think that's a good place for people to catch in. Of course, a lot of people have lost the job or the office and are working at home or creating businesses.
Yeah.
And I'm big on, creating the space and the desk and the environment, even if you have to be at home.
Right. And my whole staff had to go home. We were ordered home. We went home for a while, and everybody's back. And of course, everybody here has their own private office with all their everybody has windows, on my staff. And so, and we don't wear our masks when we are in our offices, but if we walk out of our offices, we all have our masks handy. Yeah. We do a lot of our meetings in our offices on Zoom, even though we have this beautiful conference room with 14 chairs, but there's something magical about the collaboration. There's something magical. And we're talking now that our lease is up. I've been in this building for 18 years and have just continued to take more space. This is the only office I've ever had. And now our office lease is expiring at the end of January, excuse me. And we're, for the very first time, talking about shrinking our space, moving into an open office environment a little bit, and working from home a couple days a week, but not underestimating the power of just the collaboration of the water cooler. I mean, I just can't tell you,
Yeah. And the focus, making sure it fits your personality, right?
Yeah.
To work at home on a few days. But I get that, and I can appreciate that perspective because I've been working at home for 14 years. I came from corporate America as well. So I get, and I knew I just couldn't die in a cubicle though.
Exactly.
In a cubicle forever. So I did get the office with the window, but
Yeah.
But
I thought about that. My daughter was an intern for many, many years. I remember at the end of every year, I would say, I mean, I probably could have been arrested for child labor law issues because, I made my kids work in the summers at the office. We always did our conference at the office. You always had a role. I don't care if it was stuffing the bags, the swag bags or whatever. But I remember asking Brianna, so what was your biggest takeaway one year? I think she was about 16. And she said, I'll never work in an office in a cubicle. It was such an aha moment for me because I thought to myself, I had cubicles at the time. And when we did our latest remodel, we put our studio center, because you don't want it to have windows anyway. We put, we have a 3-camera studio and our podcast room in the center. And I put everybody, in windows. I do think that makes a difference.
Yeah, I do too. And it's like, I mean, I'm sure there's like feng shui or something too.
I'm sure of it.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that. And I think the kind of in wrap up, you've given, as always, amazing nuggets. So go listen to this again, everyone. I will. But I think the final question, or at least the second to the last, would be, what has been the biggest, bravest thing you have had to face this year?
Oh, no question. We just finished doing a 3-day virtual event. And I mean, I'm telling you, I hired a big production company that does Tony Robbins events. I hired I secured a big conference ballroom at a major hotel so that we could have the 20-foot ceilings with 6 cameras and the background with all of and in front of me there were just screens and screens and screens and screens and screens of people and it just felt like a really big lift, Jena. It just felt like, A, are people going to come? B, what is it going to feel like? I sent gift boxes to everyone, but I did focus groups and people were like, we're so tired of getting tchotchkes in our butt. And so I'm like, okay, so I got to do this, and I had people signing up in Germany and Australia, and it was costing me $70 to mail the box. And I was like, oh my God, what am I doing here? And you know what? Once we said we're going for it, I just never turned back. And I said, if we're going to go all in. 100%, and we did it. And it clearly, I think, has changed the trajectory and direction of the business.
Wow.
And let me just tell you, I'm going to be honest with you. I was scared when I did it.
Yeah.
I was scared after I did it. I was scared while I was doing it. And I did it scared.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that honesty. I just remembered that was just recent. And, and I know it was a big undertaking.
It's huge.
And out of the comfort zone, out of your norm, out of the in-person events, that is the, bedrock of eWomen.
But it also helped me identify, a hole in the market. I will tell you, being a virtual speaker is completely different than being a live speaker. And I think there's a lot of, speakers that are struggling right now. I think I know why. I think that opened up a possibility for me that I want to explore, for 2021. And so in all of that comes opportunities, right? But you got to be willing to go there first so that you can be on the other side to see it. Because right now you're too far away, you know what I mean? So you can't see it. You got to move in so it comes better into focus.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, you got to lean into the uncomfortable so that you can actually see the clarity of it.
Exactly.
Beautiful.
Yeah, what I call the unknown zone. It's beyond discomfort.
It's beyond comfortable. We are jumping out of airplanes again, people.
Yeah. Do you remember the Peanuts characters? Do you remember Linus and Charlie Brown?
Yeah.
I felt like Linus when he always held onto his blanket for security. And I felt like my blanket was in the dryer. There was nothing to hold on to.
Oh my gosh. I'm going to send you a blanket. Oh, amazing. Yeah. Thank you so much, Sandra, for your time and your wisdom, as always. I really always love having our girl talk.
Yes, Jen, I want to thank you so much for your time as well, and for thinking of even inviting me. And I know that you prepared for this, so I know you put energy and effort and time into just even showing up, and I receive that. I see it, and I want to thank you.
Thank you.
I'm always here for you.
I love that. Me as well, right? Right back at you.
Yes.
And I know that if you guys want to learn more about Sandra, obviously you could just Google Sandra Yancey,
Mhm.
but you can go to eWomenNetwork.com and the amazing organization that you're a part of and have created for us. And one final question, as I said, there was one.
Okay.
This is
Okay.
the last one. I
I
always
don't
like
know
to
what it
ask.
is. I swear I don't know what it is.
You don't know
Okay.
what it is.
Okay.
So if this was your very last talk, the last stage, no more conferences, no more stages to be on, this was it. What would be the message to the world you would like to leave?
I would say that contrary to what most of us have been taught, failure and success aren't on opposite sides.
Hmm.
That failure is on the same road to success. It's just that success is a little bit farther down. And fail fast, just and then let it go. It's kind of like, I think sometimes as women we have a piece of clothing that we haven't worn in a long time, we're probably never going to wear, but because we spent so much on it, right, we hold on to it, and it's just taking up space. And mistakes and failure can just take up so much space in your heart and mind that it's preventing you from being available to really catch your next blessing. So let it go and move on, and know that it's just part of the journey, and it keeps you humble. And when you're in the catbird seat, just remember that there's somebody there that you can help along the way. And give without remembering, take without forgetting. It's not tit for tat or quid pro quo. Do it because you can, and rest well when you're done.
I love it. So well said. I love you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
you
I love
so
you
much,
too, girl.
Sandra. Thank you so
Okay.
much. And to everyone listening, if you got value out of this, please share this, review us on iTunes, and always let's go get our brave on. See you next time.